So I just finished watching an Archdemon's Dilemma, how to love your elf wife. I'm terrible with titles, but it was really cute, and I super enjoyed the sarcastic tone of it. We have a guy who's a sorcerer. Oh, let me stop for a minute. Hi, my name is Ruth Zeman. I am a positive psychologist and an expert in well-being. So I am an expert in PERMA, which is the theory of well-being. PERMA is P-E-R-M-A, positive emotions, engagement, relationship, meaning, and accomplishments. And I've been watching anime recently to find science in the wild. And guess what? I'm finding it, and it's wonderful. So I watched this silly romantic anime, The Archdemon's Dilemma, and I found so much in it. It was really awesome. I am a little under the weather with a headache today, so bear with me if my eyes look squirrely. So in the Archdemon's Dilemma, we have a sorcerer, and we have this world where it's sorcerers against the church, and the church has decided that everyone who practices sorcery is evil. And for the most part, we can confirm that 90% of sorcerers are using human sacrifices for their experiments, and it's completely and utterly unnecessary, according to our lead character, who doesn't actually start as an archdemon. And what we find is this really great story where we have good versus evil, but really it's kind of mashed up, because our good guy is the traditional evil and the bad guy is traditional church. And they're not wrong. They actually have parallels in society now that we can see are happening. We have parallels of people who are in the church, and they are truth seekers, but they're arbitrarily hurting good people. And then we see sorcerers who are arbitrarily bad people, or defined that way, and it's a mistake. They're not like that. And so we have this conflict. You could even call it Republican Democrat if you want. And it's fascinating to watch within the framework of the Archdemon's Dilemma, because it helps bring a perspective. We understand that anime is fictional, but this allows us a lens to see our own life. And one of the things I learned is that when you're in trauma, when you're in the bubble, you're not awake. You can't see it. In fact, that's why we call it waking up, because what happens is you're suddenly able to recognize the situation you're in. And so whether it's trauma, or living in a bubble, or being a part of the church and not recognizing you're hurting people, you're asleep when you can't see the system. So the system is portrayed simply but accurately throughout this show. And then we have a young man who goes and buys a woman because he fell in love with her, love at first sight. It's a seriously hilarious trope. We know nothing about her other than she's cute and has boobs. And yes, we definitely notice anime boobs. They're in your face quite frequently, which is funny. Then we start noticing that this sorcerer, he was not really successful. And he starts gathering people, and this is PERMA. So his life meaning is to study things and to do it in an ethical way. And then he starts gathering people and friends, which is what happens when you identify the meaning of your life and you start making friends in alignment with your meaning. And as his relationships grow, so does his engagement. So we see this dynamic intertwining of science here, in that he actually started from engagement, and then he found his meaning from engagement. And this can look like someone who's a runner, who loves to run, who loses themselves in running, and finds that loving themselves is part of running, and joining runners and community is part of loving themselves. And so it is both the relationships and meaning entwined with that engagement that starts bringing a satisfaction to life that they could not have accomplished otherwise. Within this, we see this young man doesn't know how to talk to girls, doesn't know how to express his feelings, and she doesn't either. She's an elf from wherever. She thinks she's cursed because of who she is, and we can actually take this curse and say it's autism instead of what her actual mystic curse is. And we can again see parallels from the outside using an anime. And this allows us to step back from our own personal trauma. It allows us to take a breath and see things through a new lens. So watching something like the Archdemon's Dilemma instead of reading the Epstein files allows us to see the world with this new filter. This in turn helps us see that the meaning and relationships and the dynamic growing of his life is because he gathered people, because he was true to himself. And we have this message from both sides, because we have the truth in the church and we have the truth outside of the church, again, portrayed in the anime, that being true to oneself is actually what's more important. And we have the lesson of honoring each other. So we have this sorcerer who isn't going around killing people. He isn't going around doing human sacrifice. And yet the church still wants to come after him because of the misunderstanding that all sorcerers are evil. And then the Sorcerers Club has the Archdemon Club, and they come and invite him to be an Archdemon. He decides to do it because the meaning he has is that he's going to protect those he loves. And so he becomes more powerful so that he can be more protective. And it's this beautiful circle and full story of how to live a satisfying life. Should you be a sorcerer or an elf or even a lady of the church? And then along the way, we protect people and we gather other family members. And it is exactly how a wonderful and successful life can play out. It has all the puzzle pieces that science says we need. Now, there's additional puzzle piece that I put in my dissertation that I think is needing, and that's finances. And so there's a cute little struggle, and I think it's episodes 1 and 2, where he even talks about his finances, and it's a great little parallel to human society right now. So I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly enjoyed the Archdemon's Dilemma. And I've also learned or relearned that I am terrible with names. So I think the other day I was talking about My Hero Academia, and I called it All Heroes because the main character superhero is All Might, but that's not the main character. Again, I have a headache. I hope the leaf blower guy is not too loud on the audio. But we look at My Hero Academia, and we also once again see these elements of perma. We see relationships that are building because they're meaning in life to save people, and because they're engaged in this, they have all these dynamic thoughts. Now, they're high schoolers, so we also see the negative thoughts, and we have this main character who's seeking to be the best hero he can be, and that life meaning is giving him positive thoughts that he in turn is sharing with his classmates. And we start seeing accomplishments and changes in thinking and relationship building. And again, these are all the elements of living a successful and wonderful life, and we see them displayed beautifully and dynamically within the series that is My Hero Academia. It's not as obvious as it was in the Archdemon's Dilemma. Also, My Hero has way more lessons and way more series episodes. And so that actually spreads out how the science is filtered in there. But again, so if you want to live a wonderfully satisfying and successful life, find what you're engaged in or find your life meaning. From those places, start building your relationships. Start building a community around them. Mine is to love others and myself. I am currently loving myself by watching lots of cartoons because my nervous system is absolutely exhausted with what people my age do, which is look at Facebook and read the Epstein files and listen to the news. And I do not recommend any of those things. In fact, I do actually recommend losing yourself in a good anime show and making sure that you are protecting your nervous system, and that while we live in a world that we can't see all the details of, you can create a bubble that supports who and what you want to be. And I am currently avoiding those adult things by watching anime and supporting my nervous system and making sure that I am not wasting this one life and this one precious time I have on this planet worried about what old white men are doing. So, that said, go forth and enjoy anime. Take care.